welcome back to another grilling video. And if you've seen this channel before, you know we have a whole series on Jamaican dishes, and I love some good old Jamaican oxtail. But today we're going to be doing oxtail, southern smoked flavor. So what we've got here is a package of oxtail, nice and fresh. Shockingly, our grocery store had these on sale for $5.99 a pound. This used to be the cheap cut that you can get for $2. Nowadays, it's $12 to $13 a pound. So at $5.99 a pound, we went ahead and picked up a couple of these packages, and we're going to be making a Jamaican style for our own personal use, and we're going to be doing a smoke style out here on the smoker. So let me kind of show you what it is we need to go ahead and do. Pretty simple. The first thing you want to do is get you some Jamaican oxtail, or I should just say oxtail in general. It's essentially the cow's tail. Trim off any very large amounts of fat that are on the outside, but not all of it. This will get gelatinous and nice and moist as this cooks down. You want to clean these up real well. Common in the Caribbean is to use either vinegar or lime juice. I went ahead and just used nice cold water, but we've got these all cleaned up, and this is 6 pieces. It's probably about 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds or so of oxtail. So let's go ahead and get this seasoned up. I'll show you how we do it. So we're going to mix this up in a bowl, but because I'm going to actually put a little bit of rub on it, I like to put these onto a cookie sheet or a tray or whatever it is you happen to like to use. Normally I use these little styrofoam throwaway meat trays from the store. However, this one's a little small, so it wasn't going to work too well. This is kind of cool. Let me show you something. You see these fish going nuts out here on the dock? Look at that. It's just a feeding frenzy out there. Let's see what they are. They're probably snook or Jack Crevalle. Yeah, look at them. Big schools of them right there. I love when that happens. That's kind of cool. Out here filming, and I just heard all the splashing, so decided to go walk over there and see what it was. All right, back to our grilling video. Now to season this, we're going to start with our dry seasonings. I have salt, pepper, garlic, a little bit of a beef all-purpose rub. Think salt, pepper, garlic. I've got a little bit of a steak seasoning, and then some salt and adobe seasoning. I love this stuff right here for seasoning anything that I'm making that's Caribbean. It has a great flavor. I am shockingly a bit of a fan of MSG, so I'm using a little bit of this accent. And then just before we put this onto the actual grill, we're going to add a little bit of Jamaican jerk seasoning and a little bit of browning. That gives it a nice dark color. So let's start with just mixing this up and sprinkling this right on top of our pieces here. Again, this is going to help give it a little bit of a bark, but reality is we're going to smoke and braise this, so it will it'll have its chance here to get soft and tender as well. Go on all sides.
Over here. Yeah, right here. Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell notification so you get notified of new videos. Thanks.
Now listen, there are so many different ways you can build a marinade or a seasoning for these. This is the way I like to do it. Experiment, make it your own, because frankly, this can be almost anything you want. Now I'm going to go ahead and put these right into a bowl. It's just going to make it a little easier for mixing up our browning seasoning and our jerk seasoning. Now while we're preparing this, I also went ahead and kicked on my pellet smoker at 350 degrees. We're going to do that to get a nice little sear on it. We want those grates to get good and hot. That little black crust on the outside gives it an amazing amount of flavor when we later wrap this up and actually braise it. I mentioned the MSG before. I don't use a lot of it, probably about a teaspoon or so in this dish, but I find it has really good flavor and I do like the way it tastes. A little bit more of this adobe. Now I like to put in, I don't know, about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of this browning sauce. This one happens to be Grace browning. Doesn't really matter which one you use, just have at it. But it gives it a really nice color. And when we braise it, we will add more if we need to. I like the oxtail to be very dark brown. I think that is an attractive color for this kind of a meal. All right. And here I have Walker's Wood Jamaican jerk seasoning. This happens to be the mild version. Don't have a whole lot of it left, so probably I have about 2 teaspoons, and I will put all of that right in here. That will use up the last of my Walker's Wood. Now this is easiest to do by hand. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I do not have gloves on, so I will be washing my hands as soon as we wrap this up, but you really wanna mix these all together. What you're looking for is a nice even coating on this oxtail so that they are all nice and dark brown. That's what we're sort of looking for. Now, if you feel like you need to add just a little bit of oil or something into this, or water, to help this marinate all through the meat, go right ahead. I usually do not feel that I need to do that. And if you look, you can see the color of this is nice and dark brown, which is exactly what we want. Let me get my hands washed up. I'll show you what's next. All right, these are looking good. We're gonna go ahead and just wait for that grill to finish coming up to about 350, and then we'll pop these right on the smoker. So this thing's up at about 325. It's slowly climbing. We'll go ahead and just get these guys put right here on this low grate for now, and we'll move them up in a few minutes. If you've added browning seasoning to this, watch these closely. That has a very high concentrate of sugar in it, and it will sort of scorch. So I always watch them closely when I'm doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and close this lid. We're gonna let these go for a couple of minutes. We'll flip them over and we're gonna move them up and offset of the fire so they get nice and sort of tender over the next hour to hour and a half or so before we add some braising liquid and braise these guys. Let's go ahead and check these out. They're getting a little bit brown, but not quite all the way. So I'm gonna move this one guy up top here. Look at this one. That's looking good. That's kind of the color we're looking for right there. Just a little bit of char on it. That's nice. I'm going to take these and I'm going to start placing them a little bit to the side. We want these to not be directly over that heat, so we don't want a chance scorching them. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this just so the fire is not coming right up over it. Close the grates there. I'm going to go ahead and crank this temperature down now to 275 degrees. You can go 250 to 300. You'll be okay. Just check them frequently, especially since they have a little bit of that browning sauce on them. All right, we'll check back in about 20 or 30 minutes and we'll show you what it looks like every one of those intervals just so you can get a sense of it. I am definitely a fan of checking frequently. I'd rather check and make sure we flip them or move them than have them overcook or potentially not turn out great. These will be absolutely delicious. All right, it's been about 30 minutes. Let's go ahead and open this up. We'll check them out. Nice and colorful. So we're just gonna flip these guys all over. Switch them around a little bit. Look at that though. That's just what we're wanting to see. I'm gonna get these and I'm gonna spritz them a little bit with a water bottle too. So these have been on now for a little over 2 hours, and I've been coming out every 30 minutes, flipping them over and just spritzing them just a little bit with some water or apple juice, whatever you want to use for this. And they look really good. I'll kind of show you these up close here in just a minute. They've got a nice dark bark on them. It's kind of what we're looking for. Pull each of these guys out of here. Let's get these over here and prep them for the braising portion. And you can see what these guys look like right here. I'll just flip one of these over so you can see both sides. Nice and dark, that's what we want. Nice bark on there. Now we'll start the braising process. Now this is not too hard to do. We're just going to take our oxtail and set them right there. What we're going to do is use a little bit of carrots, onions, and tomatoes. So I'm just going to cut this up into chunks. I actually like the fact that the onions sort of cook down in bigger chunks. So I'm just going to cut this in, you know, I don't know, let's say each side will end up being cut into about 8 pieces. I like to just sprinkle these right on into my tray. To me, that's a good size right there. Might cut this one into 6 pieces. Because remember, these will braise, so these are going to get very tender. So it's okay that they are fairly big sizes here. Let's take our oxtail and just place them right on top of the onions. Now, you'll notice that I'm putting the onions down first. It's because it sort of creates a little bit of a bed that these can sit on. It allows it to get just a little bit of that liquid down underneath there, just a little nicer on the braising side of this. Let's go ahead and get in some tomatoes as well as some carrots. We'll start with the carrots. We're just gonna, obviously you want to peel these guys, which I've already done. Cut the ends off. So all I'm going to do is cut these into, I don't know, about thumb's length. Not cut your thumb, about thumb's length. For the small ones like this, I just put them in whole. For ones that are a little thicker, I do go ahead and cut them in half. Forgive me, I'm using a fish fillet knife. Like, look, everybody has their specialty knives. I'm cooking outside. It's the one that's close to me. And this one was close in this little cabinet below me. All right. Next thing we're going to do is cut up some tomatoes. I'm just going to cut these tomatoes up into about 6 pieces. Again, these do not have to be very small. I just like the flavor of these inside of the actual oxtail flavor, the stew that comes down. And again, we can always strain this and make a great gravy you can just put right over the top of rice and the oxtail itself. Just going to cut each of these down into 4s. Then we'll cut it right in half long ways. And again, I don't really care about exact here on size. Now, we're gonna add in a little bit of beef broth. Now, you do this however you want. I just went ahead and bought a little package of beef broth here. You can also just use water and beef bouillon. You mix it up the way you want, and frankly, you add the seasonings you want. Now, I'm just gonna put about 1/2 inches of this in the bottom of this pan. This will become our braising liquid that we will thicken later to be a delicious brown gravy. Before I cover this up, let me show you what this looks like. We're going to seal it up with foil. We're going to put it back in the smoker at 250 for about 2 more hours. We're going to do that until these things are just fall apart tender. That is when these smoked braised oxtails become unbelievable. Just take a look at that. The oxtail right there with all our vegetables right in here. And we will just cover this guy up. And we do want to seal this up because we are hoping to braise this inside of that grill. Now we're just going to go ahead and put this in right on this top shelf and let this guy braise away at 250 degrees. Let's see if it's going to close right there. I'm going to have to go lower. Whew, just closes. All right, we'll go ahead and leave this on for about 2 more hours. We'll come back and check until that is just fork tender. Just like before, I'm going to be coming in here every 30 minutes and checking. We don't want to overdo it. The beauty of braising is if you leave it in too long as there's still liquid in there and you don't have the temperature up too very high, you will have an unbelievably tender meat. So I have this at 225 degrees. It's set at 250, but it's right now at about 228. It'll probably climb just a little bit. At the end of the day, it's never going to get higher than that. And that is okay in that braising liquid, especially when you see how tender this is when it's done. See you back here in 30-minute intervals, probably for a total of 30 seconds on your end. All right, these oxtail have been sealed up inside of this foil for about 1 hour and 45 minutes. Let's go ahead and take a look at these and see how they're looking. All right, let's see how this is looking. I'm gonna open this really carefully so we can close it back up if it's not done all the way. Whew, that steam coming out of there. All right, this needs to cook a little longer. These are not quite tender enough. So we are going to put this back in, cover her up, and let her keep on going. All right, these oxtails have been braising for another 1 hour and 15 minutes. We're gonna take these out and see how they're looking. Right onto here. I don't know if they're gonna be tender or not, but I will tell you, they smell good. It's hot, hot, hot. If you do this, you wanna be really careful you don't give yourself a bit of a steam burn here. Oh, I have a feeling they're tender. So if you can see this, I'm going to grab this with the tongs just because it's, you can see just how much of that bone is exposed there. And again, when I just push this fork right into it, that's what we want, just sort of no resistance as that goes in there. And you can see again where that meat has pulled back from the bone. You can see that's just poking right on in there. Normally I would be serving this over like some rice or something, but I'm just gonna pop it on a plate. We'll give this a shot. Let me zoom in and show you just what this looks like because it looks pretty doggone amazing, and then we'll give it a try. Man, does that look good. So let me kind of show you what I love doing with these just because they end up being so tender. You just grab this bone and you just stick your fork in there and just pull it out. You can see just how easily that pulls away from the bone. Oh, just unbelievable. All right, with that, I'm gonna give this a try. Before I even grab into the actual oxtail, try a little bit of this tomato and onion that's just in the juice from it. All right, let's do a tomato, a little onion, a little carrot, and right with a chunk of that nice oxtail. If you've never had smoked or braised oxtail, I'll encourage you to try it. It is one of the amazing meaty bites of food, and it really is delicious and tender. Man, that flavor is good. And doing it by smoking it this way gives it a little bit more of the natural meat flavor. It's not as seasoned as typically it would be if I was just making a good Jamaican oxtail recipe. But that is delicious. You know, you say bon appetit when you have food, but in this case you say wagwan, wagwan. Man, that's good. That's it. Bye, y'all. Safe and happy grilling. You got to give this a try. Smoked and braised oxtail. Good stuff right there.